Hello, welcome to Heavy Metal Rex. My name is Voice, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my 22 WRX. Now, a lot has happened in the last 3 years. Most of you that have been following the channel know I've done a lot of racing. That includes track days here at Gateway. Tons of drag racing, both on the street and at Midnight Madness. A bunch of autocross, a bunch of rallycross, and just overall testing every time I put a new part on and taking it to dyno, things like that. A lot of people ask me all the time, hey, how is your engine still alive? And how is your transmission still alive? I'm surprised at how well this car has done through all the absolute stuff that I've put it through. Unfortunately, I've said this in a live stream before, the car is not healthy. To my surprise, the engine actually started having issues for the transmission. I finally did my 60,000 service around 70,000 miles, and that was spark plugs, all the cabin filter, air filter, transmission fluid, and differential fluid. Transmission actually feels amazing. We actually switched over to Motul after using the whatever like the Subaru OEM fluid was, and I've done a lot of launches, over 200 launches in this car. The transmission is still stock, the clutch is still stock, and the transmission still feels, for the most part, like it did the day that I got it. Now, the engine, on the other hand, recently has developed piston slot. Now, this is not something that I was familiar with. I actually dropped off the car at Ecotech while I was at Subi Fest. What was the last Subi Fest we had? Texas. Yeah, while I was down in Texas, I dropped it off. I was like, hey guys, check it out, see how everything is. Let me know. Is it something, I thought originally it was a rattle in the dash somewhere. I thought maybe something was loose under the hood. I just couldn't figure it out. Well, it turns out it definitely was under the hood because I have piston slap. Now, I had to talk to Misha and do some more research exactly what is piston slap and how do you get it. Now, piston slap is basically your piston goes up and down, or in this case, left and right. And when there's a mismatch in sizing between the piston and the cylinder walls, the piston, instead of just going in the direction it's supposed to, kind of wobbles, which is not good. As you can imagine, it's pretty terrible. Now, some of the reasons that piston slap can occur is bad oil, or just not having enough oil, or not enough lubrication. Another issue is excessive wear, and another issue is just absolutely beating the shit out of the car. I'm going to go ahead and say option number 3 is what happened here. Most of you have been, if you've been around the channel long enough, everything that I've done with this car has been very well documented. The launches, all the racing, even some of the problems that I've had over time, I have brought up to you guys to show you exactly what's happening, to make sure that you feel comfortable with your car. Now, many people ask me, they say, well, I want to tune my car, and I'm going to put an intake on there, and I'm going to have a conservative 93C. Is my car going to be okay? Is it going to be reliable? Will it last? The answer, especially now, considering the worst that I have experienced after all this time is a light piston slap, is yes, you are going to be fine. If you're not going to do the crazy things that I'm doing, which of course I do on A, because it's fun, and B, because I have good support system here in St. Louis for something happening. If something happens, I get it fixed. And also for science, to show everybody else what can be done. Now, of course, I don't have the highest horsepower WRX out there. I cannot have the most spotted WRX, even through the other content creators, shops, and even just other people with vehicles here, even in St. Louis. It's very lightly modified, I believe. I've got an intake from Parent. I have front mount intercooler from Parent. I have the turbo inlet. I have a custom J-pipe. And for the power mods, that's really about it. I have a flex fuel kit, which I haven't even really used from Cobb, so eventually I'm going to have to use that as well. A couple of sporty mods like an AOS, oil cooler, diverter valve. I don't consider this a heavily modified car, really. However, I still maintain, and I challenge you guys to even prove me wrong. It is the most abused WRX out there. I have done more with this car, I'm willing to bet, that even any shop has done. Even, we've talked about this, is it TPG tuning? Nathan, he's got that over 600 horsepower car, and they've done such crazy work, which, by the way, I do intend to still have them on the channel so we can talk about what they've done to their WRX. They've done some crazy stuff with it, but I've beaten on this car way more than even they have. I'm willing to bet, and we'll have this conversation when Nathan comes on the channel. I'm really excited to have that, so keep an eye out for that. That said, what's going to happen next with the car? Now, if you remember, I have mentioned this in the past. A good friend of mine here in St. Louis, he actually built his VP and donated some parts One of them was a transmission. I was thinking that my transmission was going to go well before the engine went, which I'm very surprised about that this transmission is still alive. But he did donate a transmission to me because he switched over to an STI build. So I have that. I have a differential, I have axles, I have drive shaft, I have pretty much the whole drive line outside the engine. Now, Misha over at Ecotech was nice enough to procure an FA24 long block from an Ascent way back, like almost 2 years ago, in anticipation for my car to eventually blow up, and then we'll just drop that in there and everything. Okay. Well, we ended up using the heads from that and a couple other parts, donated it to some other build, which is totally okay. Because in my mind, I sat down with him and I had this discussion. Do I sit and rebuild the engine? Spend however much money it'll take, which thankfully I won't have to spend an enormous amount because I have such great support here at Ecotech. Or do I put the car back to stock, or as much stock as I can, and sell it to Carvana or something like that and pick up a used TR and start this whole thing all over again, albeit with all of the knowledge that I have gained thus far. The nice thing about that is it does save me on a lot of things, like if I get that used TR, I get a new transmission. Well, relative to this, transmission, Brembos, the updated steering, the retuned steering, the upgraded suspension, the rear chassis bracement. So there's a lot that you can get from getting a TR. And yes, it's going to come with the EyeSight suite, but this whole time I've been messing with it, it really isn't a problem to have in any car, even the BRZs that we've been playing around with, and even the TS here, which I do intend to have a review on the WRX TS on this channel very soon now that I have access to that. So with all that said, I think the plan is I'm going to try to put this car back to stock, take as many parts off it as I can. Then I'm going to throw it up. I'm going to sell it to Carvana or something like that. Now, the car still works totally fine. It just has a finite amount of time before it will not be fine anymore. And so I have to keep that in mind. Now, what I'm going to do, and this is very important for you guys, is the mirror caps are going to stay on and the roof rack is going to stay on this car, because I don't want you guys or anybody in the community buying this car. I'm going to make sure to put the VIN out there. I'm going to try to get as much information out there. Like, these other car people, I don't really care about them. We're just going to get rid of it. And the car is fine. It drives fine. I've been driving it for pretty much every day as a daily. As long as I'm not really into boost, it's okay. So if you see it out there, you're looking for a used WRX, please, for the love of God, stay away from this car. But that's the plan. And it's great because we're going into winter and I still have a bunch of stuff to do in my personal life, like sell my house. I figure out where I'm going to be living going forward. So I don't really have the place to be doing a lot of videos on the car itself. So I'll probably make a video. We'll have like a big old part out party and I'll just take everything off and put old stuff on. And it'll be fun to go back and redo some of these things with the knowledge I have now, because I remember I told you guys when I installed the turbo inlet reverter valve, it took me like 4 hours. It should not take you 4 hours to do an install like that. And I'll be able to go back and redo that and make it cleaner. And plus we'll have the Brembos. So when racing season comes around, it's going to be even more fun to play around with that car. Even if I decide maybe I don't want to put parts on it right away, I'm going to have the Brembos. And I think even the way that car shows up from the factory is it's pretty awesome. So thank you for sticking with me this whole time. This just where we're at. And probably won't be any real big news on what's going on with this car. And if I get a new car, until probably January, which kind of sucks, but we're going into the holiday season and it's time to just kind of hang out with the fam. I'll still be making videos left and right about other stuff. Like I said, I want to make a video on the TS, and I want to make a video on the Outback XT and the Ascent, because they do also come with the FA24. I think it's very, very cool. Other than that, hope you guys found this video informative and enjoyable. I'll see you in the next one.